If you could all do me a favor, clap once if you can hear me. Clap twice if you can hear me. Clap 3 times if you can hear me. 5 more times. Excellent, thank you so much. Now the reason I do that is because years ago, I was taught to do that as a way to make myself feel less nervous whenever I'm up on stage presenting in front of a crowd, as a way to make sure the audience is engaged. Now, the reason I did that right now, that was to make you all feel less nervous. So, sit back, relax. I am the last speaker of the night, and the only reasons as to why I think they put me last was either my talk ties everything together, or they want to test your endurance. We will find out which one very soon. And I will also mention that in terms of all my fellow speakers that have presented here so far tonight, and with me going last, it's like a Toyota Corolla following a bunch of Mercedes. No offense to anyone that drives a Corolla. I am 21 years old, and if I could go back and change anything in my life, I don't think I would. And it's not that I want to either, but perhaps I wish I could go relive some moments again. Moments where life felt more simple, where joy often came from the simplest of things, where I wasn't overthinking decisions as much. And not that joy doesn't come from simple things now, but perhaps to a time it was all the more easier. You see, it seems that we're taught to grow up real fast all of a sudden, to be serious, to be impressive, to act like we have it all figured out, or to actually have it all figured out. I've had the great fortune and opportunity to have served in various roles of leadership and in politics throughout the last several years here in my community, often finding myself being the youngest person in the room. And through that, I've learned 3 very simple things. Your inner child is what keeps you grounded. There is a lot that young leaders are not told or taught. And politics and life move so fast that it can swallow you whole unless you learn how to breathe. Now, when I talk about keeping your inner child alive, I don't mean being immature. I mean staying grounded in what reminds you that you're human. I had the great privilege last year to serve as the 122nd president of the UNB Student Union here. And it was a great privilege to be elected to that role. And what many people don't realize about that position is it's a full-time job. You have to be a part-time student to do it. As president, I oversaw full-time staff, 5 vice presidents, a $2.5 million operating budget. Each of my VPs all responsible for their own portfolios with their own set of directors and coordinators, ensuring that the events we run, the services we offer all run smoothly. We have an elected governing body, which we call our council, all students elected from different faculties across campus. So altogether, a decently big machine. I had the chance to work with various stakeholders right across the community, with individuals from all levels of government, with peers and colleagues from right across the country. I got to travel quite a bit, and I got to meet a lot of incredible people from coast to coast. Through all of that, my days were often inundated. Days felt like minutes, weeks felt like days that flew by. And when all of that was coming to an end, I knew that was going to be a problem for me. You see, I've often struggled with not doing anything. I have to be doing something, I have to be moving. And when my time as president was coming to an end, I knew I was going to struggle with that, thinking, what's next? During my time as president, I was quite fortunate to have various folks right here at UNB whose advice I could really rely on, professional and personal. And one of those individuals, in one of our final meetings at the end of the year, I asked her for some advice, thinking, how do I take this next step? What do I do now? I'm a little lost. And she had a very practical piece of advice for me. She said, draw a picture of yourself on this paper here. So I did. And when I say drew a picture, I mean I kind of squiggled a couple of lines and had a smiley face on top. That's the extent of my artistic abilities. So I drew the photo of myself. And she said, now around your person here, write the main things that are going on in your life right now. Just the big pieces, nothing too specific. And at the time for me, that was school, work, friends, family, not much beyond that. And I suspect that is what it is for a lot of people. What she was getting at with this drawing was very simple. She said, these are the things you can control in your life. You visualized it. This is you, and this is in your control. Focus on that, the rest will come. And it serves then and continues to serve as a good reminder that regardless, irrespective of how busy or stressful life can get, there are still things that are in your control, and that's what you need to focus on. Whether you enjoy what you are doing, whether you let other people's perceptions steal your joy, whether you remember who you were before pressure became permanent, doesn't matter. Focus on what you can control. Just because things could have been different doesn't mean they would have been better. It's easy to get stuck in the endless what-ifs and rewrites of our past in our own minds, thinking, oh, what if this, what if that? Doesn't mean it would have been better. I sometimes think, how fortunate am I that some things didn't work out? So don't kill your peace by overthinking too much. There's a lot that young leaders aren't told. No one tells you that some days you will feel completely useless, even though you're surrounded by much important work. That some days you'll have nothing to do. that imposter syndrome shows up quietly but ever so convincingly, that it's okay to be unsure, that it's okay to ask for help. You see, people value consistency, the small things, showing up on time, doing the small things, taking work seriously even when no one's watching. You see, young leaders are often taught to chase impact, but impact often comes from reliability, not recognition. Another thing no one tells you, people who seem powerful from a distance aren't all that intimidating up close. Once you're in the room with them, you realize they're human too. They make mistakes, they doubt themselves. And one of the most important lessons I've learned through that is what might seem like the end of the world. Most things that seem like the end of the world aren't. 2 years ago, you all probably had problems you don't even remember today. Sure, at the time it seemed like a really big deal. It seemed like the end of the world. Yet here you are now. This too shall pass. I'm often the youngest person in the room, and I certainly don't shy away of reminding the others in the room of that, even though it's at the cost of their own age. And I mentioned that I work closely with various folks here during my time at UNB. One of those folks who else I work closely with, in one of our meetings throughout the year, she mentioned, "Oh, I've been with UNB since 2001. To which I said, "Oh, I wasn't even born then." She laughed nervously just like that. That moment wasn't about age, it was about connection, and connection is what makes leadership work. Leadership teaches you who you are. Politics tests whether you meant it. Because truth is, the big moments, they come and go, but it's the little things. People will never forget how you made them feel, and that's what sticks with them. Politics moves fast, really fast, faster than most people often realize. Some days nothing happens, other days everything happens at once. I've lived this from various angles. I've had the chance to work in a federal MP's office, a federal minister's office, the premier's office, provincial, municipal, and federal election campaigns, student government. And what politics teaches you very quickly is this, that if you take everything personally, you won't survive. And if you forget the people that are behind the issues, then you shouldn't be there at all. The lower you get in levels of government, from federal, municipal to provincial, the more real people's problem becomes. Heat, housing, safety, food, roads, rent. And hate can also become even more real, especially the closer to the ground you get. I remember my very first day working in an MP's office. My very first day, I was assigned the case of this gentleman who had some ongoing concerns with the zoning changes that were happening at the time. And we were speaking over the phone. And he addressed those concerns to me with very strong words. Whatever words you're imagining in your head right now, I double them. But it goes to show you that how quickly criticism can turn personal. But you can't let it pierce your purpose. The reality of it should force you to be careful, but it should also force you to be honest, to be transparent. I have no issue with being politically correct in my dialogue, but I also call it like I see it. Because transparency does not just test competence, it tests character. And that's one of the most important lessons I've learned throughout my time in politics, along with the fact that so much so can become public in a matter of minutes. So perspective now becomes very important. And a story that lasts one day is just that, a story. If it lasts more than 2 days, now it's an issue. And knowing that difference matters. But after all that, despite all the chaos, the pressure, the speed, the organized chaos, the never dull moments, I've learned 3 very simple things. My inner child is what keeps me grounded. What young leaders aren't taught or told keeps me humble and teaches me humility. And politics forces you to choose who you want to be. I don't think leadership is about being dead serious all the time. I think it's about being whole. It's about remembering who you were before titles, before expectations, before pressure, and bringing that person into these rooms with you where you go and where these decisions are made. I like to think I'm too young to have regrets, and maybe that's true. Okay, maybe I have 1 or 2. But truth is, if I had the chance to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a damn thing. Because becoming who you are is a messy process. It's never perfect, it's never ending, but it's what makes you human. I'm a firm believer in a philosophy that Charlie Chaplin echoed, that life in a close-up is tragedy and in a long shot is a comedy. When you sit back visually on any given situation, it almost automatically becomes funnier, rather than you fixating on the pain or failure of it. The world will always move fast. Your job is to remember the part of you that doesn't. Thank you.